Welcome, folks, to the Squeaky Wheel. You may have missed us for a week because of a whole bunch of programming stuff that was going on within our community, but we are so happy to be back connecting with you. It has been a long, but wonderful 10 days of Stampede. Lawrence, how was your time down at the Stampede this year?
I don't remember. It was like a
So it was perfect.
Yeah.
It was a perfect running blur.
No, I think I was there for 5 of those days and quite nice. You know, the last day was the best. Having the championship rodeo infield suite ticket, and that was kind of nice. Thanks to ACO for inviting me, but no, it was great. I loved it.
There's such a positive energy. Like, this was the year that we were all happy to finally be realizing we could sort of kick things off again. And there's always a bit of a concern. There's always a lot of bit of protection that's still happening out there. And I think we should all respect those individuals. They're all in a different time and situation when it comes to where they are. Have they been, had they had COVID? Have they not had COVID? Is there something else that they're concerned about? Is it just the mental stress? And in fact, I've known a few people this week who had picked up COVID before Stampede, some people during Stampede, and now some people after the Stampede.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's all around us, and, you know, just thank God that a lot of us are vaccinated and we can keep moving forward, right?
Yeah, it's nice to have that conversation that we've been doing the part. I usually start off my show. Folks, it is the week of National Zookeeper Week. So if any of you get an opportunity, please ask the zookeeper first before you run up and hug them. And it's National Lollipop Day. So I don't exactly know where you'd be going. I guess my recommendation would be the historic kind of 7-Eleven, but take your family there and get them a lollipop so you can continue to carry on this wonderful tradition. And going back to the whole wonderful tradition, it wasn't even just the rodeos. It wasn't the Chuckwagons, which I know we'll talk a little bit more about as we go through our program. It wasn't the food. There was just so many wonderful events. We did the regional barbecue up in the Northeast. Local 87 had their barbecue. You know, what a great turnout to each of these events.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're really happy and blessed to have a community that shows up when we need them, right? And to host a barbecue for both Region 3 the day before, and then the Saturday barbecue at the local 87. It was nice to have bands and us getting together and all that stuff. Well,
and, you know, I got an opportunity to play at the region barbecue, and then the next day, you know, they were sorting out some musicians. So I said, well, listen, I don't mind Memphis in the Grand. We'll pop in. And, you know, we probably played for about an hour. Thank you to all of our friends who join us on Instagram, on Facebook, Memphis and the Grand with an E. Always appreciative. You know, looking out there, seeing the smiling faces. Here's something I never do, Lawrence. It's such a rare thing. But I actually, Kinger and I took a few minutes. We sat on the side of the stage and we played Wheels on the Bus, Go Round and Round. And, you know, the kids were just smiling. A couple of the kids had come up to me. Haley, I remember there's one of the little girls. She's like, would it be okay if we danced? You know what? Here's your opportunity. And it was just a big smiles everywhere. And then I think some of the other kids came, would it be okay if we danced too? Yeah. I did try to explain to the crowd that being the kind of musician I am, I'm not available to hire for school children or parties. That doesn't tend to be the route that we go. But whenever I get a chance to play for them, I will. Because you know what? Those kids are so much fun. They're just dancing, singing along. And they fortunately knew all the actions when it came to Wheels on the Bus.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they do. More probably than us. But no, I'm glad you guys even sang that song.
I was trying to teach the kids the Macarena, but, you know, there's only so much time in the day. And hot. Boy, was it ever just fabulously hot. And I've commented to so many people, don't complain about it, because the moment you complain about it, you're that person who changed it, and the good Lord heard, and then all of a sudden started to change the weather on us. So none of us want that to happen. But speaking of two Chuckwagons, Lawrence, Cody Ridsdale.
Yeah, he had a big string of bad luck there. Well, he had a good string of good luck at the beginning where he won. I think he won 3 races in a row. And then he, you know, his horse fell under a spell or something and got up, and then they realized that it was having issues and they had to euthanize it.
So, and you know, but did everything to protect the animal and protect the interests of the safety of all the animals and ensuring that this is a requirement. But then off he goes with some of his pals, and 6 people end up getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
It sounds like a drunk driver leaving the Ranchman's, which, is an iconic social connection location here in Calgary. Such a wonderful place. And, now it's under new management. It's all being, a lot of the same things are occurring. But boy, how unlucky is that? Based on what I read, I think he cracked a couple of vertebrae as well as some ribs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, I think Chance Vegan had to, end up running his horses for him, right? The rest of the Stampede. So, yeah.
What do we have to do to continue to get that message that drunk driving and the mothers against, drunk driving, and that the strength of that and of that community who go out of their way to give us the reminders, give us the teaching, give us the preaching, give us everything to say, find another way to get home. And yet these kind of incidents still occur. So our thoughts are with the Ridsdale family. This was one big gut punch that happened. Mm-hmm. And, all we can do is hope the best. And let's, put our thoughts his way. Métis Mixer is coming up, Lawrence, at sometime, I think this Thursday, July 21st. So in fact, when this comes out, it should be the next day that it's happening. Make sure you RSVP
for the next one.
As we do. Yeah, for this one and the next one. If you're going to attend, please, it's capped at a certain population. So let's just try our numbers need to be managed. Let's make sure you RSVP. You don't have to attend every mixer, just like you don't have to attend every event. You're generally always there, and you're always giving a stalwart education about some of the happenings within the Métis community, as well as some history. So you represent a very positive figure there. But if you can't make one of them, that's perfectly fine, you guys. When you do attend, there's an opportunity for some great conversation with all sorts of different business and industry experts.
Yeah, I mean, the mixers are always an opportunity for us to, also be seen and kind of let people know what's going on in our communities and introduce people to, this historical place for the Métis. And that's the most important thing, I think.
Well, and I'll be bringing a guitar along because I'll be filling out a little bit of the music this week. But, there's such great musicians, and we always encourage everybody to come forward as well. This is our community. So just to remind everybody, if you are a musician, there's lots of different times. Every one of the events that we've held this year, generally, there'll be a time for open mic.
Yeah.
And we want everybody to come up and feel like everybody's encouraged. I think it's Brielle Lizette who played at the barbecue.
Brianna Lazat.
Boy, Brianna Lazat. Sorry. There we go.
That's okay.
I should have wrote my notes a little bit clearer to easier to see, but she was one of the other fiddle players who played for the Pope and just
That's right.
played the Red River Jig perfectly. Loved standing beside her, got a chance to play with her, which means now I've played with 2 of the individuals who got a chance to play for the Pope.
Yeah, absolutely. Brianna, she was, I think, Region 3, Sylvan Lake, for a long time.
Yeah.
Her dad is Brian, and very good friends, to the M&A, and she I think she's working at Métis Crossing as well as playing for the Pope, but she's also the resident, a fiddle player. But she was down here for the Stampede and I guess their band, their chorus band, playing that instrument instead. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty neat experience for me, and I hope to continue to connect with her. Batoche is happening July 21st to the 24th. I know we've brought it up a number of times. I cannot say enough about how good Métis Crossing was, but also having last year been to Batoche, though it's a bit of a drive, it's about 45 minutes north of Saskatoon. So if you're coming from any of the southern regions, you better be prepared to, for a bit of a long haul. But once you're there, you're welcome like family. All the provinces are represented. There's opportunities to learn about the happenings in each one. The music is great. I'm lucky that I've been asked and I'm offered I'll be emceeing the July 23rd Alberta Days, and I'll even be playing. I'm bringing a couple band members up and we're going to play along. The if there's ever an interest in attending, make sure that you reach out to us here at the Squeaky Wheel .ca and or reach out to our office. I think it's community@métis.org, and ask the questions. Hey, what's happening? Do we have some new events that are happening? Or what are the opportunities to try and attend something like Batoche? Make sure you reach out to us and we'll give you some information. The province is always looking to try and create opportunities to bring people up, but there's family events that are happening. There's a lot of music that's going to be going on. The First Nation communities are running different sort of horse events. There's fish fries. You could try moose stews. Boy, and then you could also hit the National Historic Site of Batoche. Yeah. And they tell a great story of the history of the area, and they discuss it both from the idea of a rebellion, or they discuss it a little bit from the side of the Métis, a resistance.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have an ancestor buried there. I mean, he shot one of the captains, and then they ended up bayoneting him. But Donald Ross. And, you know, it's a very interesting place for our family to go to, you know, having an ancestor who's buried at Batoche. But, you know, it is a celebration. It's a time for us to gather as a Métis community. People assume it's on the historic site, but it's actually across the road. And about a kilometer away. But they open up the historic site for, I guess, free admission that day too, or for that weekend for everybody. And then also the ball tournaments, there's Chuckwagons, lots of camping, and the music festival runs like from the morning till night. I know you're emceeing the Alberta Day, so we're pretty excited about that. The Saturday, right?
The Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's great.
It's a non-stop good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, we have limited funds here at the regional office to share with our citizens in terms of it. So we always base it on a first come and a need basis too, which is part of it. No, we're pretty excited to send Region 3 folks up there. And I've been going there since I was a kid and I've always enjoyed my stay, even though it was a little bit rougher around the 80s. You've seen a lot of issues, but they've cleaned that up and it made it more family. And we're pretty excited to be a part of it.
Well, I think there's probably a lot less problems that happen when, you clean it up a little bit and try and make it a bit more family oriented. The annual General Assembly is coming up as well, Lawrence. That kicks off, I think, on the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th of August.
4th. So
4th,
the
5th, 6th, and 7th.
4th is mainly when people are sort of arriving to the meeting, you know, sort of meet and greet. There's no meeting at all. But yeah, people are just arriving to the Grey Eagle. And then the Friday is, you know, sort of where all the reports and all the affiliates get on stage and we give reports, including the treasurer's report and that type of thing. And then that evening we have the rodeo that we're planning in Balzac for, you know, Region 3. And hopefully we can get people involved in that. And if you're looking for a ticket, please email community@métis.org and hopefully we can get you on the list and get you a ticket to go. And then on Saturday is always the resolution day. So that's pretty much the vote day on a lot of these bylaw changes or if there's new resolutions that need to be made. And then that evening we have a Saturday dance and we give out awards and lots of music and from all over the place.
And then, I know we did talk about that, the whole idea of the resolutions, but I'm excited to hear more about the dance and such.
And then there's any spillover from that Saturday, it'll always be that Sunday morning. And then everybody usually ventures out that early afternoon. So, yeah, we're pretty excited about it. Yeah.
Well, and it's fun to have it down in the south because there's going to be a lot of people who are dropping by. So keep your doors open, folks, because there's going to be lots of friends coming along. And there's the Métis Nation of Alberta. Now, I know I'm going to get this wrong. Oskayak Kapashi Youth Camp, happening August 21st to the 26th in Camp Wohelo, Pigeon Lake, Alberta. So it's calling all Métis youth who are aged 18 to 29 to become a youth camp leader. So the camp leader training will be August 19th and the 20th. Honorarium will be provided. And I can assure you, kids, there will be, based on all of the other events that I've been attending, there will be such positive, fun energy and Indigenous games and different games being played. So can't stress that enough. there's been a number of times, Lawrence, where I've done presentations or I've talked to some of the youth. They go, well, how do I, become a bit more aware of, understanding the Métis community, because it's a different journey for them than it was for their parents as well. And there's a bit more of an allowance that happens out there. But I tell them, participate in one of these camps. Come to a barbecue. You don't have to wear your sash everywhere you go. Lawrence, you wear yours with pride. I'll often wear mine. But when you start to attend these events and you get to see that there's a respectful, different levels of comfort when it comes to how much people may wear regarding Métis clothing or outfits. But at the end of the day, we just want everybody to come participate in enjoying the sound of the sights and the music and see that there's a lot of joy and laughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, predominantly sashes are kind of worn for those really formal meetings, but some people like to wear them and are comfortable wearing them at our gatherings, I myself, in our family it was one of those hidden items that we never really identified with, and I wear it pretty formally. I don't really wear it day to day, or if I have a lapel pin that's a sash, that's great for me, especially in business settings. And, but no, it's how you want to wear it, whether it's on the left hip or it's on the right hip. To me, it don't matter. I mean, I look at the historical photos and it's pretty much everywhere, right? Yeah.
Well, I thought it was more of if it was on the left, you were married. If it was on the right, you were still single. I'm sure that wasn't necessarily always an exacting science as to whether or not that's how somebody wore it. But yeah.
And it was explained to me by an elder to put it on your left hip, the knot, right? Because if you're getting on your horse, right, you're not going to be sitting on it. So
that's true too. Well, and I wore my sash recently. Lawrence, I think I'd mentioned to you that I was in Manitoba filming a TV show, and it's about essentially treasure hunting. But because of where I am, because I'm Métis, and I wanted to, show a sign of respect to our culture, my outfit had a buckskin jacket on, where I'm still wearing my cowboy hat, and I've got my sash proudly wrapped around myself. But at the time of those, in the old timey days, as our voyageurs were moving up and down, the sash was more than just a symbol. It also would help you. You could wrap it around injuries. You could soak it to cool yourself off. You could soak it in order to have something in order to pour the water out into your own mouth. It was a fairly indispensable tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got that certain culture from the voyageurs, and came it, given to us as Métis people. We brought it forward in the next generations, right? But no, I think that's something that we certainly share with, I guess, the Eastern cultures, even though they're not Métis, but we definitely share that sash.
Well, maybe I'll try and get Leighton to throw a picture up of me in my outfit when I was in Manitoba filming. And let's just hope we can protect it, because wildfire season is kicking off. We've gone quite far already into the early part of the summer and central summer of not having that smoke that just penetrates our communities. But, sadly, they pretty much kicked everybody out of the town of Leighton again in BC, because the wildfires are chasing down again. This dry weather in this country, when it hits and when those fires start, too often or not, I see these fires start by somebody throwing out a lit cigarette.
Yeah.
We used to come across that all the time. So all I can recommend is, kids, if you see your parents do that, go, doesn't that start wildfires? And if you're an adult, make sure you tell those kids, lighting matches only leads to bad results.
Yeah, and make sure your fire is out, number one, before you leave your site.
Yes.
That's pretty much how a lot of these things start. And then that wind picks up late in the evening, and that thing spreads.
Even the next morning, all it takes is just for that one little ember. Once that wind gets to it, boy, it sure licks it up and gets that thing started up.
Yeah, so just douse that thing with water as much as you can.
Setting the signal, Leighton, send the time, because it is Indigenous Plant Conversation. Lawrence, what do you got for us today?
Well, I mean, I want to talk about probably one of the most common ones, which is, sage. But we'll certainly go through a bit of a list on what it does fix if you make a tea with it. So, if you put a handful of dried, or fresh sage into 5 cups of hot water, you cover, let it cool. It'll help with your urine flow and rid you of any poisons, right?
Yeah.
And then of course, sage can be used certainly in like a foot bath. This is so if you have rheumatism or arthritic pains, you can certainly put that inside a bath with 2 gallons of hot water, and then you soak your feet into it for 20 minutes, and just add that, and hopefully you're okay with. And hopefully, you can probably find that maybe, or that kind of treatment at some of these locations, or sort of these wellness clinics, right?
Sort of the naturopaths. I can guarantee, Lawrence, that there's not a chance that I'm taking the sage out of your foot bath to stuff my turkey with.
Yeah. Another use too is to clear your vision. So I know for you, you can probably see me a little bit better. But if you use it as a tea, it'll definitely help clear your vision.
Somehow through this whole time of Stampede, I haven't worn my glasses at all. It's almost like I wasn't really doing any work. I must have just rode out the whole 10 days, because I actually got to go and look for them. I actually have no idea even where they are.
Yeah. I know you always wear I have prescription sunglasses, and you wear it during Stampede all day. And then you go to the Chuckwagons, then you take them off, and I can't see anything.
You can't see anything. Yeah. You're essentially just cheering for the color that goes by.
Yeah, everyone. The Chuckwagons are just a blur through the finish line. Yeah.
Certainly good. Oh, the Chuckwagons were so good this year, and I missed the 4 race like the 4 Chuckwagons.
Yeah.
Out there. 3 felt more like it was an amateur sport than it was, the usual races. But I'm not the one running the business. But I was happy to see the Outriders. Their Indian relay races are so fabulous. If you've never seen this, folks, there's 4 First Nation teams, 1 rider, 3 horses, and he has a team who helps him as sort of couple handlers. And they just walk out on that first horse, and off they go. All 4 teams are racing. And when the riders come around, the individual will jump off the horse, jump on to a bareback second horse, and around he goes again. Come do the same thing, jump off that horse to a third horse, and off they go. And it wasn't just men. There were women riders out there. Mm-hmm. And the men, a lot of them had, where the errors or the challenge sort of happens is when you're tired and you have to leap onto that next horse. And it was non-gender winning. Like if you're running those horses well, you're in the race. So big shout out to the female riders who were out there as well. They just looked so strong on those horses.
Yeah, and where it's popular in the States, where they have certainly a lot more teams than 4. It's like a big thing that happens. And a lot of certainly where people get hurt are usually the horse handlers on the ground, right? Because the horses are always climbing right over top of them, right? And they're falling on the ground, and yeah, it's pretty wild. But anybody can YouTube the Indian relay race and see it. Yeah.
Look it up. I know everybody, you'd be more than impressed. Papal visit's on its way. I think that's supposed to happen at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Apparently there's an apology going to be coming with it. I hear mixed emotions from a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those mixed people. That's a pun in that. But no, for me, it's kind of, he had his apology over in Rome, and certainly didn't mention the graves, and that was always a concern for us back here, not hearing any mention of that, because that's the forefront of all of us, in our minds. And then, all the paved roads they got to do, and certainly, some of our elders have pointed out that they paved over some of, remains up in Lac Saint Anne, and just for the Pope to come, and so he doesn't have a dirt road to walk on or have his motorcade on, which I'm sure he will. But, other than that, tickets, they're being handed out for Commonwealth Stadium, and I do believe Musqueam as well as Lac Saint Anne. So those 3 areas, right?
And look it up, folks. Make sure you ask if this is something you're interested in participating in. Reach out to to our community. Reach out to the head office, albertametis.com. Doesn't matter where you are. If you're interested, reach out. There's an Indigenous signing that happened in Montana, and I think across into BC, where the signatories had signed back in 2014, but it's taken a long time to sort of move their way along. It's the Blackfoot Reservation in Montana. You know, Parks Canada says prior to colonization, bison numbered in the tens of millions.
Yeah.
Tens of millions. And then by 1890, after the fur trade was happening, there were fewer than 1,000 bison left on the continent. So now they're working to try and continue to rebuild those populations. And these signatories of this treaty to allow bison to be able to move back and forth, boy, I'm hoping that, you know, continues to repopulate.
So the real, you know, Buffalo Treaty, and, you know, certainly when the Blackfeet introduced it and, you know, came into Blackfoot territory here in southern Alberta, they really wanted that population from Elk Island, because that is the closest untouched genetically sound buffalo that was here. You know, over time, all these other buffalo, you know, all over the place were certainly modified, but this is the real true blood. And then they introduced, I think about 21 buffalo into Panther Valley near Banff, and just set them free, right? So, which is pretty exciting. But, you know, I was one of the fortunate ones to go there and see them, and when they were gone, and Parks Canada certainly was involved in that, which is great. I mean, they pretty much had the helicopters and supplied the staff, and, you know, put those buffaloes and raised them. And then the calves were born. So now we have real true buffalo calving in Banff right now, currently.
Multi-generational, yeah.
That's right. And so now the Buffalo Treaty, now there's nations that are signing on to it. And one of the reasons why I know so much about it is because, I had certainly discussed with members and even our provincial council about the Métis, certainly, and what type of involvement they would have in the Buffalo Treaty. And, we're looking at ways to encourage us, even as the M&A members, to begin our own treaty and inviting nations to come be a part of that too. So we're not sure how that's going to work, but we know the Métis Nation is very keenly interested in being a part of these Buffalo treaties.
Oh, good, because I'd love to see those herds, and I'd love to see the support and the idea that our community is participating as well. Mm-hmm. About the only thing I know is Georgia taught me a long time ago that you can't roller skate in a buffalo herd.
No. Yep.
New TV show out there called SKYMED. I think that's coming probably on CBC. I think I actually may have just started recently, but it's a look at first responders living and working in Manitoba's north. And it's an area with limited road access, so the paramedics fly patients in and out of the remote communities. So there's an awful lot of sort of showmanship in the show, as well as sort of kind of a reality in the sense that you're landing within these communities, and I think sharing some of the views and the energy of that community, along with the actors bringing the story to you. So I'll have to look that one up. That sounds kind of fun. And the MLB All-Star Game. Boy, we sent a number of Toronto Blue Jays there.
Yeah, which was a surprise. I know Houston Astros had the most, but the Jays weren't really too far behind, and a lot of new ones, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot of return All-Stars other than Guerrero Jr. But yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool. I think that, it's always good when we have a pretty strong supportive population, because we only have our one national team that carries our MLB interest. But it's fun to see these guys out there, when they do for them, it looks like it's fun too.
Yeah, and then also there was a lot of things on Twitter about, Fox televising the event, and as soon as when the Canadian anthem came, they just went to commercial, right? But we've seen the Canadian anthem, and it was sung in French too, right? So probably sure a little different for the LA crowd.
Yeah, I imagine it was. They probably didn't know what was going on, but from all of us here behind the scenes, make sure you get out and participate in some of these events. This is an important time within our Métis community, especially with the AGA coming up. And Lawrence and I always appreciate the emails, the conversation. Continue to subscribe to us, encourage other people to listen to us, and pass along all the information that you've learned. So from all of us behind the scenes at the Squeaky Wheel, thank you very kindly. And folks, stay safe and keep squeaking. The Squeaky Wheel is brought to you by the Squeaky Wheel Company, co-hosted by the President, Lawrence Gervais, M&A Region 3, and the Captain, Ross Memphis Pambrun. Our program is broadcast from Calgary, in Region 3 of the Métis Nation of Alberta, which is part of the historic Métis Nation homeland. We also acknowledge these lands are the traditional territories of Treaty 7, Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, Tsuut'ina, and Stoney Nakoda, with whom we share this land on the basis of our historical and ongoing relationships. You can always reach us for comment about our programming by email at tsw@thesqueakywheel.ca or find us on our website, www.squeakywheel.ca, and our socials. For our comments, it is our focus to recognize all of our First Nations and Indigenous friends, share connection with Métis settlements, and listen to and show respect to our Métis brothers and sisters and families. Here at the Squeaky Wheel, we give thanks to our elders for their guidance and to Mother Earth for her time she allows us to be here and share her bounty. From all of us at the Squeaky Wheel, Tansi.